Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to today's briefing on the BVI's hosting of the second OECS Championships. To my right is the president of the BVI Olympic Committee, and to my left, that is, and to my extreme left is Mr. Ray O'Neill. He's both a founding member of the BVI Athletics Association, a former member of the president of the BVI Olympic Committee, and a member of the OECS Athletics Congress. The OECS Championships will be held in the BVI July 1st to 3rd this year. Before anything else, I'd like Mr. Penn to talk about the role that the Olympic Committee is playing in this whole event.
Thank you very much, Dean, and it's a pleasure to be here, and a pleasure to be here this morning, especially among you guys to speak about the OECS Championships. The British Virgin Islands Olympic Committee is part of ANOSIS, the Association of National Olympic Committees of the OECS. And ANOSIS plays a key role in getting these championships started. In fact, I think the decision was made in 2013 when the event was held in St. Kitts to get things moving in this direction. And all the National Olympic Committees of the OECS have committed themselves to helping the track and field. In fact, what they really wanted to do is that they wanted to start national championships in the OECS so that our athletes, up-and-coming athletes, can get exposure to top-flight competition among themselves first, and then regionally and internationally. So in order to facilitate that, they came up with the ideas of championships. And the first one, with this rich history, of course, is the athletic championship in the OECS. So that's where it started. The first one was held in St. Kitts. We were supposed to host the championships here last year, but of course, because of the development on the track, that didn't happen. I must congratulate the Athletic Association for now taking up the mantle after the track has been resurfaced to move forward with the championship for this year. I know the athletes in the OECS are looking forward to it. The Olympic committees in the OECS are looking forward to it. And of course, you, the fans, I'm sure will be in for a great treat, because these are the athletes that you will see later in August competing at the Olympics. So you'll get a first glimpse of some of the top athletes in the OECS who will be in Rio. In fact, the defending champion in the 100 meters, and I'm sure these historians here could correct me if I'm wrong, it should be Taisha Harrigan-Scott of the British Virgin Islands. So you will see her in action here preparing for that big day in Rio. All in discussing the event with the other Olympic committees, we get a sense that they are fully supporting their athletic association, and they will be funding them sufficiently to be here. So we expect big crowds, big top-flight competition, and I'm sure the British Virgin Islands will do well. And I would just like to encourage the fans here to come out and see track and field at a very high level, and just enjoy the preparation, the warm-ups, you may call it, for Rio. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ephraim. We'll get a background on the OECS from Mr. O'Neill, who has been involved from the very early days. Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. The OECS Championships came about in the late 80s, 1987. At the time, the head of the OECS sports desk was Joseph Reds Pereira, who was well known in the region largely as a cricket commentator, but I think that the level of activity that took place under his helm has not been sustained or renewed thus far. The first OECS championships were held in Grenada. At the time, there were very few 400-meter tracks in the OECS. As a matter of fact, we may have had the second one after St. Kitts, because for those of you who would remember that far back, the wall on the A.O. Shirley Recreation Ground was moved back towards where the highway now exists in 1986. So it was a sort of feeling out process. What made things work quite well was the fact that Reds, because he was a pretty known figure, was able to get quite a bit of sponsorship. And the key to that was the fact that Liat was given 50% rebates on all tickets for teams traveling to OECS competitions. So most of the teams were not particularly large, but I would say that between 10 and 20 would have been the average. All the countries of the OECS participated. Anguilla joined the OECS later, but unfortunately in 1991, the games came to a screeching halt, you might say. What was great about the OECS championships is that outside of the Carifta Games, and to a much lesser extent the biennial CAC Junior Championships, there were very few opportunities for the athletes of the small islands to compete. The Leeward Islands Championships were revived and sustained to some extent, largely at the junior and youth levels. Junior and youth having a somewhat different meaning to us than they do in the international context. The junior competition was based on two age groups, actually the same groups that Carifta exercised, the under 20 and under 17. And the youths were under 13, under 15, am I right? Yes, and under 17. No. Sorry, under 11, under 13, and under 15. I'm corrected. What has happened since then is that the two younger age groups continued. But the last time we had an Leeward Islands Senior Championships was in 1996 when we hosted the event. At the OECS Championships, there were a number of athletes who still wanted to compete, but were perhaps not at the level where they would go, let's say, to a CAC Senior Championships. So this gave them an opportunity to develop, to some extent, at their own pace, to compete against people who are facing like hardships and problems, lack of facilities, lack of coaching. Those two issues have been addressed to a large extent, but there really was nothing for the senior athletes to do. There were a few athletes who had been good enough, probably based on their performances at the Carifta Games, to get scholarships to institutions in the United States. And there were several who would come back home for the OECS championships because they tended to be at a period of time outside of, let's say, the conference championships in the States and certainly the national championships, NCAA, NAIA, or junior college. So it was possibly the best development meet that could have been made available. What has happened since then is that there's not been a lot for athletes of that type, developing athletes who are outside the 20 and under age group. I can remember one of the athletes who I would sort of pinpoint as having been a product of the OECS and who went on to great things was Jerome Romain of Dominica, who won a bronze medal in the triple jump at the 1995 World Championships. I recall him winning the triple jump at the last OECS Championships in St. Lucia in 1991, a meet where our long our veteran athlete competed as a 16, 17-year-old and won the bronze. I'm talking about Keita Klein. So it worked quite well for us. Unfortunately, you know, in the years that followed, well, Liat found itself, I think, in a position where they could no longer, you know, sustain that level of support, because it extended not only to track and field athletics, but basically to all sports within the OECS ambit where there might have been regional championships. And we are talking about sports as arcane as dominoes. So it was quite good to see the OECS championships come back to come back on stream a couple of years ago in St. Kitts. What I think was useful in that meet was that some of the Olympic committees made it clear to the athletes, well, you want to go to the Commonwealth Games, find yourself at the OECS championships, and they did. So hopefully the same thing will hold force here this year. I think we are on the right track. I think it can be an excellent meet. I should point out, too, that not all the countries who will be participating have National Olympic Committees. Two in particular, Anguilla and Montserrat do not, but each of them has, you know, has produced athletes of some quality, and we would hope that they would be, you know, fully engaged as well. I'll close here just hoping that, say, the expatriate communities will turn out to support their own and to support our athletes as well, and hopefully we'll put on a good show. I think we are a destination where a lot of athletes are enthused about visiting, and there must be a reason why. So I'll turn the microphone over to Dean, and he'll tell you about what's in store for this year.
All right, thank you, Ray. Well, the countries who will be participating in the OECS joining us here would be Anguilla, St. Kitts Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Grenada. And what both Ray and Ephraim has mentioned, this year there is no CAC Junior Championships, which is usually a tune-up for the IAAF World Championships. The World Junior Championships are going to be held a little later in July, and the NACAC Under-23 Championships are going to be held July 15th to 17th. So we expect that teams are going to be bringing athletes who would also be participating in those type of championships as well for it. We are looking at having the meet starting in the evening each of the days, and the first deadline that has been in place is for May 3rd, when teams will submit their numeric entries, which will give us an idea of the type of numbers they're expected to bring and what events they are going to participate in. And that will help us in itself to make a better determination and adjust the schedule when we see the numbers, and to know which events are not going to be, or not possibly going to be held. So there might not be enough people in, say, a 5,000, but we know there are a lot of other action in the 1,500 as well. And we are looking at a deadline of June 20th for the teams to submit their final entries. They will all be registering online. We are hoping to have the meet live stream, and we will be providing live results of the competition so that persons are in the region and around the globe would be able to keep up with what is happening as it's happening during the course of the competition. So that's about what I would like to say. Now, Todd, I'm not sure what questions you might have, and we will try to answer them.
Yeah, so we won't know the list of events until after the registration. Is that
Well, no, we have from the sprint, all the sprints in men and women, 1, 2, 4, 8, 15. We have the 100-meter hurdles for women, 110-meter hurdles for men, 400-meter hurdles, and we have included the 3,000, 5,000. There's going to be the long, triple, high jump, those field events, discus and shot put, and the javelin throw. And we have some very good field events, people coming. I'm sure what could be of interest is the fact that at this Carifta Games, and the St. Peter's of Grenada broke the javelin throw record at Carifta, which was established by Keyshawn Walcott, who won the Olympic gold medal for Trinidad. So it shows you the kind of caliber athlete that would be coming here to throw the javelin. And Ray would be in a better position to highlight some of the type of athletes we would be able to see here for the OECS.
Thank you. I would assume that Antigua will bring the 4x100-meter relay team that reached the final both at the Pan Am Games and at the World Championships last year. Grenada could have a formidable 4x400-meter relay team, but I somehow doubt they will all show. In the field events, I think the field events in the throws especially are going to be stronger than they've ever been. Grenada has a tradition of producing javelin throwers, but there are two shot putters from the region who have been throwing distances, certainly unthought of several years ago. That's our own Eldred Henry and Dylan Simon from Dominica. On the track, the sprints are obviously going to be strong. In the men's division, St. Kitts and Antigua figure to be the leaders in the short sprints, the 400s. We're not sure who is coming from Grenada. They right now have the two fastest 400-meter runners in the world to date this year. But there are several others who we expect to see here from several other islands, and we have a few one-lappers of quality as well. What has happened in the recent past is that in events beyond 800 meters, there's been a decline compared to the early days of the OECS. And the reason for it is not all that clear, but it has happened. Hopefully, we will see the high jumper ladies from St. Lucia, both of whom were among the top 20 performers in the world last year. Laverne Spencer, who's won medals at virtually every level of competition except the global ones, but she was the Pan Am champion, I think, last year. Yes. Commonwealth Games, she's a medalist at the Commonwealth Games, and she's won, well, I think she's won 3 Pan Am golds in a row, and she's also won CAC and NACAC medals. In the hurdles, hopefully our Kyron McMaster will be fit, and hopefully the fastest junior ever from the OECS and the second fastest ever, Rai Benjamin from Antigua and Barbuda will be here as well. We'll wait and see. But there is going to be a lot of good competition. Dominica has a triple jumper, actually a Cuban who's gone about 17 meters 40. That's around 57 feet. So that's an event we have not really seen highlighted here, but it should be good. We anticipate a number of our all-comers records falling, and our females, we expect to do quite well. The 4x100 meter, well, we should do well in both relays. Tahisha Harrigan, as I recall, was the last OECS champion in the 100. Chantal Malone in the long jump, and a host of others. And is Montserrat going to be here, Dean? Do you know?
I think I'm going to follow up with them.
But they have a very promising 200-meter runner as well. And we rarely think that, you know, the crowd will enjoy what they see. And we are looking for some large attendances at all the sessions. Thanks.
Anything else we might have missed, Todd?
I know last year the meet was postponed because the resurfacing of the track. Is there anything else that needs to be done with the facility in preparation for the event?
Not really that I know. I mean, we would have liked to seen a little more seating, but otherwise than that, everything was in place, and we have been competing on it, the track, since December. We have seen a number of good performances, a number of athletes even making qualifying standards for the World Junior Championships, a number of personal bests, a number of revisions to our all-time list. And just over the weekend, we saw Akeem Bradshaw. I heard Ray talking about the triple jump. We saw Akeem Bradshaw jump over 15 meters for the first time, and he didn't do it once. He did it 4 times. So, you know, it's an indication that, you know, we are having athletes perform of what the track is producing. And we thought it was fast before, but you will definitely see faster times now. And I think that among the women, even in the triple jump, I know this young Kayla, she jumped almost 12 meters over the weekend. So all local athletes have been performing well on the track.
Will we see Tahisha here, Ashley Green?
Yes, all athletes will be home to compete in the meet, because I think, like most of the countries coming in, this will, as I mentioned, this is going to be the final tune-up for the NACAC Under 23 and the World Junior Championships, because typically there's always a CAC Junior Championships, but that isn't taking place this year. So in the absence of any other type of competition, this one would be a final measuring stick for people, because shortly after the OECS, they will be going after the different other competitions.
Roughly how many athletes are we expecting?
We will find that out from May 3rd, when the numerical entries start coming in. That will give us an indication. So we will probably have well over 100 athletes coming in.
In comparison to other events, how does this stack up as far as just the size of it and quality?
Well, it's good size and good quality. I think we've seen what has come at the Twilight meets over the last few years, and some athletes who have competed there. But I think the standard might be a lot higher. Rick could correct me on that.
Yes, I think there will be competition at a fairly high level in many of the events. What I would say in terms of the number of people who would be coming, there's going to be a meet shortly after that, the CUT Games, which, you know, encompasses athletes in so many different age groups. There's no way in any of these islands a meet. Let's say Grenada, Carifta Games is somewhat different, but for any other meet, you know, that there'll be more people there than anything else. But we do expect that the place should be pretty much filled.
Logistics-wise, where are the athletes going to be staying at?
We are working that out right now with Thomas Board and all that. They will be staying at different hotels in the territory. Like I said, what is really going to determine a lot of that, once we start to get the numeric entries coming in from May 3rd. That is a crucial point that allows us to see and evaluate and know exactly what. And then after that, we will be able to set up the meet online in terms so that people would be able to register. And then once we do that, we will send out now an update to the countries on what is going to take place. So everybody will be in a better position once we have received the information and can do an analysis from there.
And just one last question. Is this the second time the BVI has hosted the OECS Championships?
No, this is going to be the first time. What has happened before, there was I think in 2011, we hosted the OECS relays. I think the last time was around 2004. There was a OECS Invitational starting in, is it 2011? Around 2011, that led to, because the Olympic committees were supporting the athletes in going, and as Ephraim mentioned, in 2013, they made a commitment to support the athletes going to the championships. And I think, against the backdrop that Ray gave, where what happened back in the late 80s and early 90s, we have seen a lot of athletes from the OECS. And I think, and I'll be corrected by Ray, with the exception of probably Montserrat, every OECS country have had an athlete win a medal at some level of world championship competition or Commonwealth Games or one of those. So the OECS meet, and the athletes from the OECS have gone on to do well. And I mean, we've had our athletes from the region making finals, and several of the athletes coming in have already qualified for the Rio Olympic Games. Okay?
Just in summary, I think it's very important to note that at this meet, we're going to be doing, not to scare anyone, but we're going to be doing anti-doping activities, because it's crucial for the athletes to be familiar with that process, and it lends credibility to the meet. Once you can show that we have done some anti-doping testing and it's up to a standard of the international level. So that will be happening, and everything should go well. The athletes are sure excited to compete, and everyone want to compete on the same playing field, level playing field, so to speak. So we're going to ensure that.
Thank you, Ephraim. Thank you, Ray. And we thank you for joining us on this briefing on the OECS Championships, which will be held here July 1st to 3rd. You will be getting more updates on the developments as they progress towards the date of competition. Thank you.